I'll just have a cup of coffee.
Beer it is.
No, I said coffee.
Beer.
Coffee.
B-ear.
C-O.
B-E.
What? No. No. What? No. What? You went into the attic? I'm very disappointed and terrified. Why don't you bring this potato? That's pretty big.
Mom, you're always trying to give me potatoes. What is it with you?
I just think they're neat. Why do birds suddenly appear over there, over here? 8 spices. Some must be doubles. Oregano. What the hell? Oh no, not Lenny. Not Lenny. Kids, turn off the TV. I have some bad news about Lenny.
Not Lenny!
Live from the epicenter of independent cinema, it's Film Stuffs with your host, Jake S. Weisman. Tonight's guest, fine art YouTube creator, Hilary Strohschein. With me, the original Falcon from the Maltese Falcon, Jack Quint. Let's start the show!
Welcome, film dorks. Welcome to Film Stuffs Live. I'm thrilled about today's show. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have a free and easy conversation. We're set for an hour, but if the conversation takes us, the conversation takes us. You know how it goes. It's our 10th episode. Technically, we've been doing it for 12 weeks, but this is our 10th interview. We're killing it. More. Give me more. I am so thrilled to keep doing this, and I'm so excited to have our man Bones on the show. Can you believe it? Bones, the Bones that we talk about all the time. Rollo Fish's maker, Bones, is going to be on the show in just a moment. The news that caught my eye this week, I think it was this week. I don't know if it's next week, but there was definitely an article this week saying if you go to the AMC and you buy a popcorn, you have unlimited refills with your popcorn. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but let me tell you something. If things were going well, they wouldn't be doing that. So let's keep an eye on that and see what else are movie theaters going to be giving away for free? Did Fast Furious 9 not perform the way they wanted it to? Are we, like we say, just going to have to keep waiting for Black Widow? Jack.
Here I am.
Oh, welcome. I thought you were going to be the other Falcon, but you're not the other Falcon.
I was supposed to be the Falcon, not the other Falcon. No, there is, except no substitutes.
You are the original Maltese Falcon.
I am the original Maltese Falcon, and for a very own replica of yours, you can Venmo the program Jelly Roll Chicago, and while you're at it, you may
That's
as well,
alleged. That's
you
not.
may as well subscribe. We have to have a hook here, Jake.
I can't.
Go to jellyrollchicago.com and subscribe to us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. But we hope that you are watching on YouTube so that you can see the films that we show during Film Stuff so far in the high definition of 1080p.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you may be able to get a replica of Jack Quint as the Falcon, the original Falcon from
We'll
Maltese
work on
Falcon.
it.
We'll work on it. We'll see how much that kick to Venmo works out, and give us a price.
In the meantime, just
we also
pre-order. Everyone just keep pre-ordering on Venmo, and
we also accept fan art of me crashing and falling on my roller skates.
Wonderful.
No injuries to report. Yeah, there was an injury this week, but let's not talk about that.
You're breathing okay, though?
Yeah. I've got this gross scar on my elbow, though.
Oh,
it's all blue. It's blue. It's colors.
You need to learn how to stand on your feet while you're at the rink. That's my advice to you.
That's good advice.
Thank you. I'm really excited for our
ass
show.
out. That's the way I like to skate.
Knees bend, pass out. Is that what you just said?
No. I said knees bent, ass out. That's the way I like to skate.
Okay, that's a great way to start.
Kind of like face down, ass up. That's the way I like to read. Yeah, well said.
Yeah, thanks, Ma. You're just saying what we're all thinking. All right. Should we can I tell you about Bones? Should I tell you about Bones?
Please do. I am looking forward to this very, very much.
I mean, listen, I have the longest relationship with Bones, and she's so special to me. So this intro could take the entirety of the show, but I'll try and speed it up as much as I can. Bones ran the movie theater when I worked at the movie theater, so I've known her since I started working there, which was, however, I feel like that's now about 8 years ago or so. So anything that I talk about that I can do, she's 10 times better at all of it. And she's done everything. Any single thing you can think of to do at a movie theater, this person has done. She has done it all. Jack? Inventory?
Yeah. Has she done inventory?
Yes.
Has she made the popcorn?
Yes.
Has she taken out corpses of animals that may have snuck into pipes and back corners and
100% yes.
Wonderful.
Anything
very brave, very bold.
Of, she's done it. She has the most to me it's very special, the Black Panther medal. To her, it's almost nothing, because not only did she do Black Panther, she did Dark Knight. She did Avengers 1, Avengers Assemble. She did
the opening nights for these.
Not the opening weeks for these, the entire runs for these.
Holy moly. Hokey smoke.
She's done the entire MCU. She's done the entire Star Wars. And can I tell you something? That's not even like the most interesting stuff. That's we can talk about movies all day.
That's just work life.
We can talk about theater stuff, but she is the most incredible artist. We're going to get this started. She has a YouTube art channel. She has, I'm so excited. I'm spitting all over the place.
She's worked Harry Potter and Hunger Games as well.
I think she's been working like Sam Raimi Spider-Man is what I'm talking about. Like she works hard and always has.
As her art
I see.
Yes.
She's done any kind of IP, any kind of franchise you can think of. Like I said, well, there's so much more to say.
Should we show a video of her
in a second, because this is the most important part.
Yes.
I was about to be on the streets, and she housed me.
Just like you were going to be Midnight Cowboy?
Ever since. I was about to be not Midnight Cowboy, but I had one foot on the curb, and I remember, I crashed at her place, and then the next day I was like, "Is it okay if I stay here?" And she goes, "Where the fuck else are you gonna sleep?" And I haven't. That was when we were living in a studio basement in the bottom of a building, and then we've upgraded since then a couple of times.
And since then, she's asked you, "So when the fuck you're gonna leave?"
I know, right? Well, we can address that when we get there. She's just been waiting. No time soon, as she is mother to my cats. And she also is just the inspiration, and there wouldn't be any of this YouTube without her. She introduced me to what YouTube can do, but also has been nothing but she is essential to Film Stuffs and Film Stuffs Live and Jelly Roll, and anything I do is because she's told me, she's pointed me in that direction. She's
kicked your ass when you've needed it.
She's the greatest, and she's my space pirate. She's in the ship with me as we travel through this universe together into the center of the galaxy. So before we bring her on, I would like to show a quick clip of her work so that we can you need to understand what an amazing artist Hilary is before we start talking about movie theater shit.
Well, roll it, and I will see you on the other side.
Thanks, Jack. astounding. Bones.
Yes.
There she is. Jack.
Hello.
Welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's so hard to tell where to start. That's what we were. I was saying that to you earlier today because all I want to do is talk about the art, but you're such a wealth of information when it comes to movie theater stuff. So how about this? Let's talk about some movie theater stuff. And some cinema stuff. But anytime anyone has a question about the art, we can stop, we can talk about it, and we'll get back to it. And if the conversation, that's my plan. How's that for you?
Sounds great.
Cool. What was
I guess
that
I should
music?
say a disc.
Oh.
What do you mean, what was that music? You put the music on there.
Prompt. I don't know. Tell everyone about it.
Okay, so it's the soundtrack to a movie that's a ripoff of the never-ending story called The Land of Far Away, or Mio in the Land of Far Away. And it's something that it's a movie I grew up with, and I love the soundtrack, and you're very sweet to put it on my reel.
Well, I actually love that song too, because that's one of those movies that I used to watch as a little kid that I could never figure out what it was. And then you kept bringing it back. And I was like, oh my God, it's that movie. It's that movie. All right. I totally cut you off before. What's the disclaimer that you wanted to start with? What was this disclaimer?
As I'm not exactly sure what all we're going to cover in this episode, because I'm sure we could go on talking forever. But I just wanted to say that as great as our lives are now, we went through kind of a lot to get here, and we're still kind of dealing with the things that happened in terms of the movie theater and our jobs and our home in Chicago. So I may speak passionately about it, and I'm not trying to undermine or make anyone, it's not aimed at anyone specifically. It's just me working through my emotions on the subject, because it's still stuff I'm dealing with.
Right. And essentially this kind of stuff of, and we'll get more into it, but like the quick overcap is that we were working at a movie theater for years and years and years, going strong, working every day. And then the pandemic hit and it stopped. And then things kind of were iffy for a few months. And within, I want to say 4 months, we had to leave Chicago. There was no job, no apartment. And we had to, I always say, we had to abscond to rural Illinois.
Well, we had to figure out where we were going to go.
Yeah. So now everyone's up to speed. So I guess where I want to start is, there's been a few guests, that we've had on this show. To their opinion, they've said straight out, man, we didn't see this coming. Not talking about the pandemic, but talking about like, we thought that if there was a hiccup in the system, that everything would go back to normal relatively quickly. I'm definitely leading the witness, but I'm to understand that you don't agree completely. Did you see this coming?
Well, I've worked in movie theaters for 17 years. It's been literally half my life. And the one thing that has been consistent, I guess, is that the way that movie theaters are run, nothing has changed because they haven't really needed to. But the past few years, in terms of movies, the distribution companies were cutting. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. They were cutting budgets for mid-budget movies, and they were putting all their money into big blockbuster movies. So we were noticing that the quality and the quantity, the variety was sort of going away.
Yeah.
It seemed like the movie creators that were making it into theaters were focused more on visuals than storytelling. And so we were always, we kept saying, all there needs to be is a hiccup. Streaming has been building momentum for years. And I mean, I honestly don't understand how people in the movie industry can say they didn't see this coming.
I agree. I feel like we used to, that's true. We used to prepare so much for, do you? I mean, the last couple of rom-coms that we had didn't do well. It depended on the audience that we were aiming for. Sometimes if the audience was proper, then the rom-com would do really well. Like Trainwreck did really, really well. And like, what was some Kevin Hart films and stuff like that, you know. But I remember, you know, after Black Panther, we were really gearing up for, you know, throwing Wrinkle in Time in 2 theaters and Deadpool in 2 theaters and Solo in 2 theaters and all of these movies preparing for everything, and people were just not showing up for them.
Sure.
And we were talking about, you know, Disney Plus and all that stuff forever ago.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so tell me more about that weekend. So what was it? Well, before we get there, I guess, what was that kind of last year like working at the theater?
It was
leading up to
it. It was increasingly frustrating, and now looking back on it, it was obvious that my time there was coming to an end anyway. But I was in grad school. I was going to grad school full time, and I also running the movie theater full time, and it was a constant balance of finding the right movies to bring to the theater, fighting for the movies that we wanted to bring to the theater, keeping staff, training staff, hiring staff. It was, everything just seemed like it was getting harder. And the movie quality, like I said, just none of the ones that we thought were going to performed that last year. We had a few surprising ones like Knives Out, but that last year, everything underperformed for the most part.
Can you talk more about the fights? Like, what do you mean by you had to fight to get to get these films? I mean, it was a 4-house theater. We weren't able just to get whatever movie we wanted?
No, the way that the system for movie theaters is set up, it really does not, it's not, it doesn't allow the smaller theaters to succeed, the independent theaters to succeed. It's honestly on the generosity of the distributors, because they only create a certain number of prints of their movie. And it used to matter more when it was film, but now it's all digital. And it does cost money to create digital prints, but it's not nearly as much as the film prints. And especially because they're starting to be able to download films from just like straight onto the projectors.
Right. They would mail us like these hard drives, but now as we move forward, it's going to end up being more and more Wi-Fi. Just straight up digitally downloading Black Widow from a satellite and premiering it at midnight as soon as you can.
Right. So they still only create a certain number of prints of each film, and so if it's a smaller budget film, I'm speaking, for instance, of Queen and Slim. That is the main one that we fought for and won. It was only being distributed to a certain number of theaters in the United States, and because we were only a 4-screen, the distribution company didn't want to give it to us because they said that we wouldn't make money with it. And to be fair, compared to a 20-30 screen where you can seat, you can play it in 3 theaters and seat 1,000 people or whatever. Like, we just couldn't compete with that, and that wasn't our competition anyway. We were just a neighborhood theater, but we knew that our community wanted to see this movie. So the person that negotiated our bookings told me that I had to prove that the neighborhood would come watch it. And so we posted on Facebook, and we're just like, hey guys, do you want to come see this movie? We want to represent everybody in the neighborhood. Our neighborhood was extremely diverse, and we wanted to make sure that our content reflected that. And so we got so much support from the neighborhood, and we got and so we were able to get the movie and prove to the distributor that we could make money with it. And it's like that for every film. The bigger ones, like the Marvel movies and stuff like that, they make so many prints. They know they're going to make all their money plus back. So it doesn't matter as much with the bigger films, but the smaller ones we would have to fight every week to get, and often we would be denied.
I think that's so insane that on top of having to deal with the logistics of running a movie theater, like you said before, like scheduling and hiring and keeping people going and keeping the theater physically clean and, making sure that there's everything that needs to happen, that then the distributor is saying, like, you're an indie movie theater, this is an indie film, there's no money anywhere for any of this. It sounds so absurd, but also, like, leading to the pandemic, we were just talking about how the couple of days before everything shut down, the movies were one by one moving their release dates, and the posters were one by one changing. And, I'm having these conversations with regulars being like, posters cost a lot of money to print, so they wouldn't be changing this if this wasn't a big deal, kind of a thing. If this was only going to be a 2-week thing, all of these release dates wouldn't be changing. And so I don't know. It was interesting to watch all that, to see how dependent we are on content all the time as a movie theater. And
well, we were open 365 days a year. Like that's something that perhaps I didn't think about because I was just so used to it, and maybe the general public doesn't even know or think about. But movie theaters are open 365 days a year, so we had to keep the content coming, or else there would be nothing to show, and then everything grinds to a halt.
And then we weren't able to get rid of movies like when we wanted to. We knew a movie would do well for a week, and if we could just get rid of the movie for the week, that would be fine, being that we only had 4 theaters. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it would be like, well, we want to get these 2 movies, but we can't get rid of these 3 movies, so we have to then hedge our bets, right?
Well, there were just a lot of rules. Like if we were allowed to get a film, we would have to sign a contract that said we were going to keep it for at least 2 weeks, no matter how well it did. The only way that we could get out of something like that would be if it like did single digit customers all week. Like that's the only way that we would be able, but mostly it's we would have to have it for 2 weeks. Sometimes we would have to have it for 3, no matter how it performed. And when you only have 4 theaters, that's very costly.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why I love that you're on this show right now, because it's fun to talk to creators and content creators. And you are a content creator, don't get me wrong, but we talk so much about the boots on the ground. And it is part of the thing. Maybe I'm not bringing it up as much because I'm still raw from it all too. But, talking about how, movie theater employees were treated during all of this, and like how no one was looking out for our benefit. I don't know if you could speak to that or what,
Yeah.
And if it's touchy, I'm sorry. I don't.
No, I'm having a hard time organizing my thoughts in terms of that. The movie theater employees never seem to matter ever. Like, not at the beginning of we lost our job because we refused to open the movie theater in a pandemic. Like, we lost our home because we refused to open a movie theater in a pandemic. Like, period. And my employer said to me, in terms of opening, at least you have health insurance. If you get sick, at least you have health insurance. And that was just not good enough for me. And I know that is and was the attitude, continues to be the attitude of the higher ups in the movie theater industry and movie industry. Like, the people that are actually doing the work in the movie theaters have been sorely neglected.
I mean, they've been really trying to keep everything open. And as far as, I mean, you used to work at a Regal, right? You used to work at like a real big boy.
I've worked at Carmike and Sarasota. I worked at a couple different Sarasota, and the big one downtown Chicago, I think, was bought by AMC or Regal or somebody. But at the time that I worked at it, it was Sarasota.
I got you. And that's a big sucker, right?
I think it was like 18 screens or something like that, but it was like in a horseshoe shaped. So it was like when you were cleaning and walking, you'd walk miles.
And that's off of like Roosevelt, right? Like right off the south loop of Chicago, where students are going from every school and neighbors. And so that's a big one. It sounds like this entire time, like you said, not only are they not looking out, but they're continuing now. Like, they're acting like nothing even happened right now. I mean, is that the sense that you're getting?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
What? Or is there just not much else to say about it?
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Yes, the movie theater employees, most of them are getting minimum wage, and they have to deal with some pretty gross stuff, and they are there to make your experience great, but there was never any talk of how to protect the theater employees. There was only talk of, we're implementing new sanitizing stations, or we're putting in new air filtration systems that will do nothing. Like that's why I'm so proud of you for, I don't want this to turn into like a whatever, but I'm so proud of you for talking about this from the beginning and documenting, because nobody else was talking about how you're sitting in a room breathing other people's air. Of course it's not healthy. Of course it's not safe during an airborne pandemic.
There was just, I wanted to do it as kind of a diary, as we talk about it being a post date, where it's kind of like, because just to the moment, people were really trying to really reopen this shit, in the middle of June, oh, we'll push it back 2 weeks and see what happens. Oh, we'll push it back 3 more weeks and see what happens. Well, what happens to the people running the movie theater? What happens to the people who, we just established, we desperately need content. If we have content and it's bad, that doesn't do us any good. We know from experience that a good movie brings in an audience, and a bad movie usually doesn't, on the best of terms when there isn't a pandemic.
Yeah.
And
the whole, Tenant's gonna save the movie theaters. It's just Tenant was finished in 2020 before all this happened. So it was gonna be the quality of movie that was from before all this happened. Oh, I'm getting all worked up. So it's no, Tenet is not going to be the savior of the movie theater. Honestly, and we were saying this at the beginning, the streaming services are going to be the savior of the movie theaters if the movie theaters have a savior. And the government.
That's true. The government did step in and drop some money on movie theaters. That was a big argument. Because we were following NATO. What does NATO stand for again? I can't remember. The North American or the National Association?
It's the National Association of Theater Owners.
Right. So that's NATO, and that's the movie theater owner union.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude who runs that union is called John Fithian. And John Fithian, if you can follow these videos on this channel, but also look up any article from him from the last year. This dude has just been trying to reopen theaters and talking about how actually now that no one's in the movie theater anymore, it's actually very safe. There's no movies and there's nobody sitting in the audience. So technically it's the safest place to be. So, as
long as they stay that way.
Do you see things just going back to normal when the next Marvel movie shows up, or the next Batman movie? Or,
now that the door's been opened, they keep saying that they're gonna go back to things being normal. But did Disney say that? Because Disney owns a lot right now, and I'm sure they're in the works of acquiring more. And I don't think that they've said that they're going to go back to the window of movie theaters showing the film and then it going to streaming.
If they go back to a window, I suspect it'll be like
a week.
They just announced that Black Widow will be free on Disney Plus October something. October 13th or something, just in time for Luke's birthday. But I don't know if that means that they're going to have like the $30 option, or like even more for a Marvel movie. For all we know, they can do like a $50 option, and keep a simultaneous hybrid release. So I guess it is up to Disney. Now that we're talking about it, it feels like it is just completely up to Disney and Marvel as to however the way they desire to distribute Black Widow is probably what they're going to end up doing. Although they have so much money to play around that they've been experimenting with the whole thing. Like we said before, like they drop some of these movies as just gifts, you know, like some of these Pixar movies are just, here, have it, have a gift, have a new Pixar film. They just did it. Yeah.
How magnanimous.
How magnanimous of them. Wow. I feel like we should probably switch gears because there's so much art and we've been talking about this, but this is the real stuff that I really very, very much care about. I know you're right. Like no one talks about the boots on the ground, and I can talk to you and do talk to you for hours about it because it's a very specific angle on not only looking at movies and content, but also just like the logistics of it all. So thanks for talking about it. I know it's not the easiest to dredge up all of this stuff, but I appreciate you being candid with us. Hey, Jack.
Here I am.
What's burning on your brain, dude? What's burning a hole right through the third eye right there, Jack?
Well, it was just that question that you landed on at the end there about, you know, what comes next, and it just seems very much like is it the distributors who just kind of don't care? It's like, well, let's just keep getting more people into the seats, whatever the commercialization is, and then smaller house theaters have to keep fighting to get more of the indie releases and things like that. So there's all these lessons to be learned that you've really done a very good job of laying out, but are we learning them? What's going on?
Probably not.
Yeah.
No, but I think that right now is a unique time for smaller content creators because they'll probably still, this is how I see it going. They will probably still release the bigger movies exclusively in theaters. Maybe this year they'll do the Black Widow streaming and theaters, but I think that with superhero movies and like Star Wars and stuff, they'll release them exclusively in theaters for a short amount of time and then bring them to streaming, and then they will be looking for content from smaller creators, smaller budget stuff to go straight to streaming. Mm-hmm. That's how I see it going.
For sure.
And as far as being a 4-house theater goes and having to fight for films like Queen and Slim and more of the indie films, what were some of the films that the distributor would want to give to you in place of that? Be like, no, we want you to show, you know, fill in the blank.
I can't even remember
whatever cottage cheese whitewash shit you wanna, you know what I mean? Like, sorry, I didn't mean to. It was
I don't remember exactly what movie he was gonna give us, but I knew that we weren't gonna make money on it, and I knew that we might make money on Queen and Slim. So it was like either get a movie where I knew we weren't gonna make money, or take a chance on a movie that we might make money on.
And we were listening. We talked to the people all the time. We always talked about movies and what we should get and talked to the audience and everything. And they were sold we weren't going to get Queen and Slim. And that kind of pissed us off because we should have gotten it. And everyone was like, yeah, we want to see that, but we figure you guys won't get that because the last few weeks or the last few months have just been this, like I said, cottage cheese whitewash like crap that just doesn't connect with anybody. And Rogers Park is the most diverse neighborhood in Chicago.
Oh man, that's so crazy. That
without hyperbole, it's
a
fact, you know. So yeah, you'd think, but when it comes down to money like that, it was just insane. And we used to really yell about it a lot.
We've got a question for what you're referring to about how Disney just kind of dropped some films, and aren't they just dropping the film to whet our appetite after our long, cold movie winter? I think there's truth to that. It's whatever we can do to not go completely crazy.
Sure. Bones.
So it helps.
It could be. I think that once they figure out how to make their money, enough money, more money from streaming, theaters will exist as the same way that playhouses do, sure. As like a something, an event and to go to.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just insane.
It's not insane. I think maybe this is really simplistic and I sound like a fool, but the fact that I keep going back to is whatever they'll follow the money. Whatever the money says is whatever they're going to do. So people, you go on Reddit and you read about this stuff and everyone's kind of, fans, cinephiles and people who kind of feel like they have stuff invested in the movie drop schedule and stuff like that. Are really up in arms. Oh, the entire year was like, oh, this is killing movie theaters. Oh, this murdered movie theaters. Oh, the movie, it's not dead. It's this, blah, blah, blah. It's this whole argument online. And the fact is if the movie makes more money in the theater, that's the way they're going to go. If the movie makes more money with a hybrid release, that's the way they're going to go. And if the movie makes more money just going straight to streaming, that's the way it's going to go. And it's not a zero-sum game. Everything can do anything and everything. As far as I'm concerned, I think we're seeing now what I keep calling the great aggregation, which is like we're going to see all the streamers start joining up. And so there's going to be like, the big tech streamer is going to take a movie studio and a TV studio and figure out the loose content, that we're all kind of putting out there and figure out a way to make everything work as one. But the fact is
Google and YouTube just just taking whatever content they can.
Yeah, people joke about Apple Plus, but they're the ones that can actually buy Paramount if they want to. Mm-hmm. You see it right now. It's starting right now with Discovery and Warner and,
MGM and Amazon.
MGM and Amazon and Netflix wants, it's in the air, like static. I don't know if it's true, if there's any truth, but, electricity being like, what studio is Netflix going to buy or what theater chain is Netflix going to buy? It's just money. Because when we started this, and I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling. When we started this, maybe I just cut myself off on good point. The idea of taking a movie from Netflix and putting it into the theater was kind of a radical idea. It
was looked down on. Netflix movies and Netflix content, Hulu content, it was all looked down on in the film world. And now it's a game changer. Didn't a Netflix movie won an award or something like that? So
Hulu just won Best Picture.
There you go.
With Nomadland. I think that's Hulu, or it was dropped on there. But it was we worked on one of the ideas during that really rough year was trying to get The Irishman into, and I might have talked about this in a previous episode, but we tried to get the Irishman into the theater. And we realized that logistically, money-wise, The Irishman wasn't going to play very well for us, but it was a real to-do. And now I think that Zack Snyder's zombie film is in like 500 theaters. And I've read things saying, oh, that's not going to stop. Now the interchange, exactly, Luke, exactly. And Roma, that was before Buster Scruggs and stuff. That would be at the Landmark. These purposefully independent 2-week runs just so the movies can get awards. And now all of that is just out the window. What a terrible film. But yeah, we'll see what the money says, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what will happen now that distributors can buy movie theaters.
Right? That was just like a silent rule that we followed the entire time, that now it's like, I guess we don't have to follow that anymore.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Jack?
Not surprised.
The Paramount Decree? How do you feel about the Paramount Decree, Jack?
I mean, I feel like it's one of those things. What can I feel about that? It's like just one of those much bigger echelon things. That's like negotiations on a golf course type of thing.
They just let it slide, and they're like, actually, this is kind of cool. So let's just not say anything about it and see what happens next. And that's what the Amazon MGM thing is right now, because I think they're in court, like trying to see just how legal all of it is, because it's pretty big.
That's like so higher concept that I'm like, all right, whatever. That's going to be what it is. That's just so much money. What was the figure? $500 million, $1 billion, $5 billion, several. How many billions? It was a lot. The point is, it is this gigantic sum of money. So that type of negotiation is something that I'm like, okay, fine. I cannot wrap my head around all the baggage that
made my
entails.
money. Let's go into space, guys. Let's do this. I'm done.
I'm
making my exit. I'm going into space. What
I'm more curious to know about, and what is far more tangible to wrap my head around, is art. Specifically, the art of Hilarious art.
That Bones art. That lovely Bones art. I cannot recommend your YouTube channel enough. I think it's so wonderful.
It's true. These videos are so much fun. I had a lot of fun watching your trilogy about Beelzebub. Bubbles. Please say
Beelzebubbles.
Beelzebubbles.
Say it one more time.
Beelzebubbles.
You did it.
That's it.
Toy boat. Unique New
York. You need New York. You know you need unique New York. There.
Indeed.
Beelzebubbles. Because what you did, it just really surprised me so much. Going from a very flat, very 2D to this unbelievable 3D creation, which is dangling to your left, I believe. It is this amazing. Here, I'll put you on solo screen.
Oh no!
If you don't mind.
You about this.
It's just this very fascinating piece that you created, and you made a whole series of videos about it, and it's magnificent, and it just takes so much time and work, and it's also very relaxing. Just your voice, you have a great speaking voice.
And
I love hearing it. It's just like, it almost has kind of like this Bob Ross quality, where it's like, now I'm just going to paint the happy little bow, but you're working with some very creepy creations. So it's a fantastic contrast if it's in the vein of Bob Ross.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet.
Where does that come from? Like that project specifically, how did you go from 0 to, it's like a mobile sculpture that's a gravestone with bones underneath it? Genuinely never seen anything like it. Like, can you, I mean, I know there's a lot of steps to it, but what led to all that? Because you have a crazy mind. You got a wacky mind. No, it's just like you start with one thing, and then it's like, well, then I should do this, and then I should do this, and I should do this, and I should do this. And I watch you do it in real time. So I'm fascinated by it.
Well, okay. So, I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I wasn't exactly sure how to start, what projects to start with and stuff like that. And a lot of the art YouTubers that I watch do prompt books. And you got me a prompt book for, I think it was my birthday. And it was The Beauty of Horror, Haunt This Journal prompt book. And it was perfect because it is, I always like creepy, cute stuff, but not in the same way that of like Nerdy Crafter or Loony, yeah, Graveyard Loon. I don't know. I go for more creating like gross and pretty, like things that are gross and kind of pretty too. So
yeah, and you keep referring to your creations as you're going through the videos. Isn't he pretty? Isn't he beautiful? And it's like, here's a skeleton. Here's this monster dragon skeleton.
That was always something that would happen during work when we talk about like your art while we were working and stuff like that, where someone would be like, "That's very disturbing, Hilary," and you go, "I thought it was just adorable." So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Here's the prompt book, just so you get a look at what we're talking about. He does Beauty of Horror coloring books. It's very, we talk about spoopy in our house, right? It's like, spoopy is just a little too cute.
Too cute. So yeah. So I wanted different than all these people that were doing just 2-dimensional prompt books. So I thought that I would do a 3-dimensional journal so that I could build my portfolio. And I sculpt more than I draw, except I went to grad school for animation, so now I draw as well. But so I started out, actually, started the sculpture first. And then I was like, okay, well, the prompt was for human bones. I should still do the prompt, but maybe I could make a 2D representation of Beelzebubbles to put in the prompt book next to the human skeleton. That was the prompt. But then I made the 2D version of Beelzebubbles too big to fit into the Haunt This journal. So I had to make another journal.
You ended up getting a separate binder altogether.
Yeah.
And it's a separate series too, right? It's like beyond Haunt This journal.
Yeah. Yeah. So that the trilogy is actually backwards, because I started the sculpture first, and then I drew him and did the 2D thing, and then I did the actual prompt from the book.
Just to be absolutely clear, the prompt for the book was take these human bones and bury them somewhere.
It was
and you were supposed to like what was it?
It was cut out these human bones and bury them in a secret place.
And from that, you were like, and that's like cutting paper and painting paper and pasting it and putting it on a background or something like that, right?
Right.
And from
which you did with the bones, and you just buried the skeleton, and you had the skeleton just sort of waving from underneath the ground, and it's fantastic. And even that was a considerable effort. It would have been enough just to cut out the bones in the first place and just put them back together, but you really went through this incredible effort of cutting them out and really stylizing them, I love the way that you have crystallizations on all of your corpses, and this came up again with the creation of Beelzebubbles. But it's just your attention to detail and just the growth and textures of all these things is really what makes that part of what makes it so fascinating. Because you're really just applying so many different types of layers and textures into that 2-dimensional space with just the original skeleton corpse, with the gravestone and the background and just the different paints and epoxies that you're using.
Well, yeah, I didn't want it to be boring.
Well said.
It's just incredible because you say it's backwards, and it's like you skipped all of the steps, but then you were like, no, I'll do them all though. That's the crazy part. Most people would take a prompt book and just be like, all right. And then, so there's the prompt, and then there's Beelzebubbles, the 3D piece. But in your videos, it's 3 completely separate videos where you do the prompt, and then you come up with this random animal because you wanted to. Yeah? Just because you wanted to?
Yeah.
It's like bones from just any kind of animal? Like,
well, it was I Googled weird skulls because I I had taken an ecochet class, and
That's horse riding, right?
yeah, I had to sculpt the human figure from the skeleton out, and I didn't want to deal with the human body too much, so I Googled weird skulls. And then I guess I can reveal all the animals that he's made up of. Now,
well, if you want to, this is like breaking. This is actually breaking news.
It is breaking. Okay,
this is the only place you can get this info.
Has it been revealed in the comments on YouTube yet?
No, nobody comments on it. Everybody says they love it, but nobody comments.
Leave a comment, like, subscribe.
Incidentally, yes. Let us know about where you are watching us from. Let us know if you've taken an écopage class. Let us know if you know how to spell that. That's a French word.
Yeah, so his head is a hippopotamus, neck is a giraffe, body and fins are anglerfish, and legs are frog legs. And he will have a tail someday, and it is a lion's tail.
And that is his purpose in this realm, to reacquire his tail.
Exactly.
I love that. There's a whole
story.
narrative that you come up with these things, but it's not even that you made this. That wouldn't even be enough, because you took it a step further, and it is a mobile.
Yeah, originally my idea was wind chimes.
Sure.
But yeah, I guess a mobile.
And what is that on top? I mean, I know because I saw the video.
This is a tree stump, and then it's his gravestone, and it says secrets, because I was supposed to bury the bones in a secret place.
And it's really worth checking out the whole video, because there are just so many materials that go into that piece alone. There's so many materials that go into the whole collection of it, but the creation of this tree stump was it was very satisfying, just very visually and auditorily satisfying to see and hear this video, between listening to you describe the nuances of these parts of all of these bits that you're doing, listening to the music that you selected to go along with it, that worked out in the background for it. It's just so much fun, and just very satisfying to see the final result of, you said months of work went into this.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I started sculpting this probably, February?
This February?
Right?
This February was so many years ago.
No, I'm like,
well, months of work.
Listen,
yeah,
it's crazy, because she's been filming this stuff for like 2 years now, and now it's finally everything's coming together so that we can make these videos.
In the video, you'd said that there was 3 days compiled of footage of this one, this what ended up being 3 videos, this trilogy.
Yep. Yeah.
Like actual days, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. 3 full,
72 hours.
Yep. Yeah.
it's insane.
We had to edit it like 5 or 6 times, 5 or 6 passes.
Wow.
Who are some of you mentioned a couple of them, but who are some of the art channels that you like on YouTube that inspired you to do this?
Well, Mariah Elizabeth is my favorite, pretty much. She does a lot of like squishy makeover things and like rainbows, and it's really not my aesthetic, but I just love how much she embraces. She is a 26-year-old woman who likes to paint rainbows and cupcakes and cute little animals and stuff, and she loves it, and she just won't let anybody give her shit about it, and I think that's awesome. So
She's made an industry out of it too.
Yeah. Everybody loves Mariah Elizabeth.
That's wonderful. What's on the docket? What are you working on right now? There was some sneaky footage in that demo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've already introduced him, but I have a making of Rollo fish, the jelly roll jellyfish. So hopefully we'll be getting that video up next week. And then I'm working on some portraits that will hopefully be coming up in the following weeks. Oh dear.
Not on camera.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Listen, if it was Lion, I'd be kissing him on the lips too. Rollo fish.
So when you see a prompt like in the horror book, how much of it is fully developed in your head beforehand, and how much is kind of found along the way?
Well,
like and I can pick up, small details like on Rollofish, the swirls, like was that, I can make this octopus and I'll have squirrels or squid. I'm sorry. Squid?
Jellyfish.
I'm effing up left, right, and center here.
It's really embarrassing, Jack.
I should be very ashamed of myself.
I'm beet red right now.
Because these are just so thorough, between having backstories and just having crystallizations and crust and, just so many textures. So I'm just fascinated with how much of the explosion happens all at once when you're thinking about what to do for some of these things.
None of it. I have ideas. Well, so when he gave me the prompt book, I went through it several times. I read all the prompts, and then I wrote all of the prompts down in my sketchbook, and I went through and came up with ideas that, like, I just picked ones that I right away had ideas for, or like it was a concept that I just sat and thought about for a day, and it was like, what can I do with this? And then I started exploring different art supplies that I'd never used before. Not in terms of him, because I've been working on him for so long, but some of the stuff that's coming up, definitely.
Like, we got this guy.
Oh yeah.
Here. Oh yeah.
That's like, this is not to totally stampede you, but this we saw in the demo. But this is you testing like lots and lots and lots of black paint, right?
Obsidian.
Yeah.
Obsidian.
So this one was there is an artist that makes art supplies, and he was claiming that he makes the blackest black paint. So I wanted to test it. So I got his paint, and then I got like 10 other black paints to compare against it. So that picture is painted. I didn't mix anything except I might have mixed some gold with some black, but I didn't mix like any lightning coloring into it. They were all different brands of black paint that I used for that picture, pretty much straight out of the tube. So, and the background is the blackest black paint.
And what you don't even get to see is that before all of that, you photoshopped like the whole image together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if you go onto the Aurelius Instagram, you can see the actual photos and the Photoshop of it all that then inspired her to go ahead and draw the whole thing from scratch and then paint it. It's so insane, this channel, to me, because and I hope I did a good job with the demo, because I just wanted to show like it's not just a painting channel. There's a lot of people that just do squishies or something like that. And even when you only do squishies on a channel, there's a million things you can do with the squishies, but like you are plastering, you are casting, you are chain mailing, you are like, painting you're stuffing things, you're sewing everything. There's just it's the sheer variety of craft, I think, is so cool in such a cool way. And also like we talk about, there's a lot of good art on YouTube, like a lot of good art. There's not as much fine art. You know what I mean? Like this, like you're doing a thing. You're doing a thing with all of this stuff. You're not just painting squishies. You're not just like testing Posca paints necessarily. If you are testing Posca paints, it's under the guise of this cat project, which is like 15 layers long, but you can't even see half of the layers because you don't want to show half the layers. So,
well, it would be a 3-hour long video.
It's just it's incredible. It's fun to watch them all in these 20-minute bites, but it's also, when you think about it, you know, just making that demo, I think on my timeline I had about 2.5 hours of just episode, and just cutting that down into 4 minutes, it was like, oh my gosh. And there's just so much more to come. So, and like I said, I've been watching you do it for hours every day for years. It's just insane to see it all kind of come together. She sits there and watches Killjoy movies, like chain mailing.
I think it's great. I think that it's fantastic getting to see this, you know, the stop motion, just how long it's taking you to do this. And because it's a very solitary kind of process, what you're doing, and just how you're describing it and talking through it is fun, and what you're doing is just so fun to watch as well.
Well, thank you.
And it's great just to see the creation come to life just from start to finish, and be like, this is so many dimensions. Well, the prompts alone, this is so many dimensions beyond what is being asked for here.
Yeah.
Sure.
I go a bit overboard.
It's good, I tell you. It's good.
So I do want to hit a couple of things, and it's very late in this interview to be bringing this up right now, but I would be remiss if I didn't. This is two things I want to talk about, because it's a combination of talking about your influences and also this podcast that you do called Zombie Banana Spiders. Mm-hmm. And so I did on this channel here, the filmmaker color wheel, talking about my influences, and you were so sweet. There's a whole episode of Zombie Banana Spiders where you guys talk about your color wheels, and I wanted to know, I should have asked you for the actual image so I could put it up, but would you talk about those influences for us? Because we've seen your art, and I was just wondering kind of what other artists.
Way to spring this on me, Jacob.
That's what happens. You're live.
Sandbagged. We promise our guests we don't sandbag them, but then we sandbag them.
Who are your primaries? I thought I really sandbagged you with that Mio question at the beginning. So
no, I just didn't know if anybody would be interested or heard of that movie.
Well, look it up, everybody. Mio in the Land of Faraway. You should be interested if you like a little man named Christian Bale.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Never heard of him.
He's a wee little man, a very small little boy in that movie.
I'll never get anywhere with a name like that.
But yeah, who are some of your artistic influences?
Well, one of them was I remember on my color wheel was Dave McKean. He works with Neil Gaiman on the Sandman graphic novels. He did all the covers, or a majority of the covers. He also has his own comic called Cages, among other ones. He does a lot of mixed media, a lot of texture, a lot of like kind of things, eerie things falling apart type. Yeah. I like him. And let's see, who else? Tim Burton was another one. There was a
I think it was
point.
Leica, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Leica was on there too. Yes.
Yeah.
So Leica is a stop motion animation company that I would love to work at, to sculpting their puppets. And that is what that was what I was working on my master's for. I'm currently taking a break from that, but working on my master's in stop motion animation.
Nice. And what kind of stuff do you talk about on Zombie Banana Spiders?
Well, it is a horror podcast that I do with my sister and our friend Colin. And it's just, we talk about different types of subjects in horror. My sister loves Stephen King, so the conversation often goes to Stephen King, but we did a Father's Day episode where we broke down the different father characters in horror. So like the hero father, the tragic father, the evil father, things like that. And we explain what all those are and give examples of the types of movies. Yeah.
Some of the history on that show is a lot of fun. Your sister pulls out like you did a Mardi Gras episode, I think, and there was some really kind of fucked up stuff in there. That was a lot of fun. I definitely suggest your podcast. It's on YouTube. Yeah, video podcast.
Well, once New Orleans gets thrown into the mix, everything gets all fucked up.
I mean, there's some stories. They got some ghost stories down there. But I definitely want people to know that not only are you a fabulous artist, but you have this wonderful podcast with your sister and friend talking about horror stuff.
Sweet.
Well, it's the Bone Show. Welcome to the Bone Show. We got bones on the show. Welcome. I don't know. Is there anything else burning your brain? Either of you? We're deep into the crazy horse half of this show, so.
Well, I love that you use materials that you love to experiment with. Like you said, you want to use stuff that you haven't worked as much with before. What's something that you're working with right now that you haven't spent too much time with? Or is this too revealing about things that are coming up?
No, that's fine. I can't imagine that you'll guess what's coming up.
Yeah,
I have a wild imagination.
Just try.
I was gonna guess, but cats, but we already saw the cats. So, so I'm guessing cats with a K and a Z, but not where you think that they are.
Dr. Katz, professional therapist.
Nope. So the same person that made the blackest black paint came out with a paint that's called the Merriest Mirror paint.
Is it Mylar? Like liquid Mylar?
I mean, it looks like mercury. Like it's really cool, but I'm making something with that. I am experimenting with different types of resin right now. I'm using 2-part and UV resin that I've never used before.
How's that going for you?
Awful.
I've been like around for it, but we have, we sit there and talk about it and you tell me your progress, but like, how's it going? How's that resin thing going on the whole right now?
I did it right once and I have
Out of how many
tried. I've tried probably 5 times so far, the project that I'm working on, and it's worked once, sort of, and that might be good enough.
We'll make sure that it is.
Yeah.
Eventually you have to call it a day on these things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I watch these art guys with you too, so like they do say that there's something to it that looks like it's just nothing for them to do.
I know. They make it look like it's so easy. I don't understand.
Bastards.
Get it all over me and I'm sticky and it never sets and
So we got a couple videos coming out pretty soon, eh?
And some harsh words for these people, these resin pros, so called.
Well, maybe I'll just be like, teach me your ways.
Resin pros.
Please, if it's so damn simple, just show me.
What am I doing wrong?
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Bones. This is so cool. It's just so nice to talk to you about. We used to talk shop so much. That was one of my very favorite things about the job, was we would sit there and talk about the movie schedule for a very long time and the logistics of what movies to try and play this kind of creative math with the show so we could like curate this theater. It was a lot of fun and the best way to spend a shift when people weren't yelling at me.
Or punching you in the face.
That never happened.
Twice.
But that's a tale for another tale. Shall we talk about what we're watching?
Yeah.
Shall we?
Surely.
Well, Bones and I watch a lot of stuff together, but what Bones, why don't you kick us off? What's been your favorite thing to watch outside of the YouTube world, movie-wise?
Movie-wise, well, this morning I watched, it's not a movie, but I watched Dan Cummins' stand-up. Get out of here, devil.
He's great. He's so funny. I'd never heard of him before you, and then you took me to go see him live. And
I'm unfamiliar.
You should definitely check out Dan Cummins.
Dan Cummins.
Let me write his name down here.
Oh, we're plugging him?
Fucking A. Well, because he not only is he a fabulous, I spelled it right, Bones? Mm-hmm. Not only is he a fabulous stand-up, and we saw him, it was a very good show.
Nice.
At the
Come on our show, Dan Cummins.
It was in Pilsen, I think.
Pilsen, wasn't it? Talia Hall in Pilsen.
Yeah.
Nice.
And also he has these podcasts that are fabulous podcasts. What are they, Bones?
He does Time Suck, which is a history podcast where he just like picks something that he wants to research or that somebody suggests to him to research, and then he talks about it for like 2 hours. He did let's see an example. He did the Salem witch trials. He did Wild Bill Hickok or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Like different historical things that he was interested in. And then he started doing a podcast with his wife called Scared to Death. He likes scary stories. She doesn't. And so he would like research supposedly true paranormal stories and then read them to her to like freak her out and stuff.
She has the blanket up like this. It's a video podcast too. She's like, oh no.
What a good sport.
It's so good.
Yeah. So
they read each other's scary stories.
Yes. It started out with him reading to her, but then people started sending in their own experiences with the paranormal. And so she started reading the audience's experience to him.
Weird.
And she's lovely. She was at the merch table when we saw him live. So like you go and see him and he does his show and then you get to meet both of them. And they were so kind. They sat there the whole time, the whole row, and just signed everybody's stuff.
And actually like had a conversation. He was like, he asked us if he should cut something out of his
I asked him. Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that.
Oh, didn't he?
I just remember he loves yacht rock. So his whole opening playlist is like Journey and all of this. And so when I got up to him, I said, is there any reason why your opening playlist isn't 100% Michael McDonald? Because it should just be 100% Michael McDonald. Who am I though? And he was like, you're not the first person to say that to me. I was like, oh, well, it's the best thing I could ever imagine if I just sat there and got to hear that. But it's
it's also like he has a running joke on his Time Suck podcast that like he loves Michael McDonald, and he like talks about him on almost every single podcast. So
Michael McDonald, friend of our show. That's the tightest 45 I've ever seen. That was another really good live show.
Michael McDonald
at Ravinia. My dad and Robin got me tickets to go see him, and that was the show. It was 45 minutes of McDonald, but before that was 2 hours and 15 minutes of Toto. Remember?
That's a lot of Rosanna.
Yeah, you've never heard Rosanna till you've heard the 18-minute version.
I could go for an 18-minute version of Rosanna, to be honest.
I feel like I've heard you say that before, Jack.
But not live.
Not live. It's a very good memory. Wonderful. I like Dan Cummins a lot. And he's one of those comedians you've shown me, like, he's been around forever, but the first half of his career, he just looks like this, like, greasy, like, ew, like, who are you? And he's funny, but it's like, ugh. And then he got his shit together, and it's like, oh, dude, you're it's amazing how that can happen. So we've been watching a lot of Tom Segura lately, too, and the same thing happened to him, where, like, he just looked like not that great for a long time, and then recently he's, like, coming into his own, and it's all we can hope for her.
Aged like a fine wine.
All of us. That's all we can hope for. Jack, what you watching, guy?
Booksmart. I watched Booksmart.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
It's fun. It's very cute. And it is very much like the girls' answer to Superbad.
Nice.
In a lot of ways, and a lot of very good ways, too.
Not just the casting.
Not just the casting, because it is Jonah Hill's sister as the lead in it, incidentally.
She looks exactly like him.
Yeah,
they look exactly the same.
That was the thing. Like, I'm watching this. I didn't know that before I watched the film. No, so I'm watching this. I'm like, this is very much Superbad. And why does she look so familiar? And it's like, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
She's the few things I've seen her on. Beanie Feldstein, I believe.
Beanie Feldstein.
It. I think she did the most recent season of What We Do in the Shadows. She plays a familiar, and she's really funny.
You know, I've heard good things about the series. I've only seen the film, which I love so much.
The film is great. The series is the series is fun. I don't remember a lot of it except for that last episode. If you get to the last episode of the first season, it's like done, sold, love it. Great stuff. Plus, it's Matt Berry, right? Like, they didn't have Matt Berry, and now Matt Berry is a part of this, which is
okay. Well,
you could ask
game
for.
changer.
Have you seen Toast, Jack?
I have
watched Toast of London?
I have not seen Toast of London yet. It's one of those things where, like,
to watch Toast.
I keep seeing it on the list. I'm like, I should watch this.
You will fucking love Toast of London,
Is
Jack.
that's Steve Coogan? Is that right?
No, it's Matt Berry.
Yeah, but who else is that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Steve Coogan is Alan Partridge.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yes. Yeah, that's it. Toast of London.
Alan Partridge, knowing me, knowing you, Jack Quint. I do love that shit.
Very good.
Very good. Very good. Well done.
Good.
Well done.
Yes.
We watch a lot of British stuff in this house. I like Austin Powers, very British sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Workaholics quote. That's like
that's
a meme and a meme right there.
No, not with you on that one.
Not with me. That's just fine.
What are you watching, Jake?
I watched The Last Detail today for the first time in a long time, and it's a really, really, really great movie. It's just
you're going to be disappointed that I haven't seen The Last Detail.
Well,
because I've been meaning to see The Last Detail.
Let me tell you something. The good thing about The Last Detail is that anytime you watch it for the first time is going to be a great time, because it's
all those guys in their prime, really.
Well,
it's
yeah, we were talking
Randy
about
Quaid went all nutso.
It's his best. I'm not like a huge I know Christmas Vacation is like the Randy Quaid role, but my favorite, like the best acting he's done, as far as I'm concerned, outside of Independence Day, of course.
So good.
He's so sad. But I showed The Last Detail to the staff at the theater. Bones let us show it in the big screen, like in Theater 1, and
well, he actually
that was
gets
the last time I
in that
watched
one.
it. It's so good. And just like every other Hal Ashby movie, Hal Ashby is just my absolute favorite because all of his movies are, it's like, man, this is a movie about life. It's just about everything in the universe. And you can just sit there and I can just break it down. And I was having a great time. And it's also this, not only is it like early 70s, not only is it Hal Ashby with Robert Towne and Jack Nicholson, and this aesthetic that I love, but it's painfully tragic and unbelievably funny. And so it's just the most inspirational everything. I hadn't watched it in a long time. Sometimes I build these movies up too much so I don't end up watching them, and then got a bug to press play. And man, that was a good choice. What a good movie. I just love it so much. So funny. It means a lot. Meaningful film.
I'll get there. I promise.
Hey, no rush. I push Harold and Maude on people, but I can't watch that around other humans. I refuse to watch that with other humans.
You need several boxes of tissues.
I'm a mess every time I watch it, and it gets worse every other time. You know what I mean? Like it was bad the first time, but now I'm like, and now every time I go into it being like, well, I won't cry this time. And then whatever that opening song is, you just hear the opening chords of Cat Stevens.
If you want to sing out, sing out.
I'm just
and
done
if you
for
want
the rest
to
of the
be
movie
free,
now.
be free.
Oh, she's walking down a cemetery with a yellow umbrella, and everyone else has a black umbrella, but she's leading the charge with the yellow one. And they play the entirety of Tea for the Tillerman. I can actually make myself cry just talking about it if I wanted to, but it's not that kind of a show. I think it's time to say goodnight to my favorite people in the world. Luckily for me, I get to hang out with Bones for the rest of the night, but you guys get to watch this video. So there you go.
Share, subscribe, ring that bell, release the Shoemaker cut.
Please. I am sucking up your IQ, vacuuming cortex, feeding off your brain. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Bones. We could just keep going. We could just keep this going and going. Will you come back?
If you're lucky.
If I'm lucky, maybe you'll decide to grace us again.
Promises.
Well, I hope you do decide to chat with us again, because you are a wealth of information, and I can't wait to see what more art you do, and we can share some more stuff. And maybe I'm excited for the film stuff so far. We can show some of your stuff. We can show a cool greatest hits or something like that.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you being on the show.
Sure.
Jack, anything?
That's all I got.
That's all you got? All right.
Until next Thursday. Who do we have next Thursday?
Oh, good call. Next Thursday, we have all three hosts of Bad Movie Brunch.
Are you for real?
All three of them are coming on the show. That's Katie Grosvenor, that's Taylor, and friend of the show, Lucas Guy Taylor. He's coming back. We're gonna give him the full time this time around. Well, we'll see. Yes, we have to do another solo show with Luke too, where yes, we do. It's gonna be excruciatingly long. I promise. It's gonna be 1 hour is just gonna be dedicated to Jim Croce, God willing. So definitely tune in next week. It's gonna be so much fun, and then we're figuring out our crossover episode, and they are the best people to talk to, and we've never had that many people on the show, so that's going to be an experiment, right? Yeah. Jack, thank you so much. I will see you next week. Bones, I cannot thank you enough. What a wonderful talk. Thank you so much. And everyone watching at home, I will see you in the future.
What's that billowing down the stairs? Look, I'm really starting to worry. There's half-eaten cupcakes everywhere. We're all out of paper clips. And the curtains smell like dupe. What? No. What? No. What? Well, that's where I used to grow my weed. But that's a story for another day. Never mind. We drove around until 3 a.m. looking for another all-you-can-eat fish restaurant.
And when you couldn't find one?
We went fishing. Yes, I have something that I'd like to sell.
Please tell me it's your hair.
No.